Picture this. You've been trying so hard to study, yet you still cannot get the marks that you want. This is one of the most common problems that GCSE and A-level students struggle with, and what the sender of this email is struggling with too. Today's video concept is a bit different, yet still extremely helpful. If you saw my community post, you'd know that this video was coming. Basically, to summarize, any one of you watching this video can send me an email with the email address linked below in a similar format to today's email. I'll do my best to make a video about it, share it with you guys, and also the sender of the email. So without wasting any more time, let's dive straight into the email. So the topic of today's email is struggling with A-levels, need advice. Hi Ayan, I hope you're doing well. I came across your post and I thought I'd reach out since I'm currently struggling with my A-levels and could really use some advice. My name is blank. I've blurred out the name so that their name is not revealed for privacy reasons, and I'm in grade 11, so year 12 AS level. Studying under the Cambridge International Exam Board, I'm taking maths, physics and biology. And my future goal is to study biomedical engineering and AI with a strong interest in cancer research and healthcare innovation. Right now, my grades are maths C to D, physics a D, and biology a B/A. My goal is to achieve at least 90% in biology and 85% in maths and physics by my AS mocks in mid-March. My goal is to achieve 90% in biology, 85% in maths and physics by my AS level mocks in mid of March and eventually get A stars for my final exams. However, I'm struggling to stay consistent and productive. My daily routine. School from 8 AM to 4:20 PM, Wednesdays until 1:30 PM. Tuesdays and Thursdays, football practice from 4:20 to 5:30, and then I get home by around 5:45. On other days, I get home by 4:45 to 5 PM and start studying or doing homework. I usually study until 10 to 11 PM, but I want to finish by 9 PM so that I can wake up early and study from 5 AM. My biggest struggles. Number 1, maths and physics. I understand the concepts in class but struggle with applying them in questions. I often get discouraged and tend to give up on harder problems. Number 2, time management. I need a solid study schedule but find it hard to stick to one. I also get distracted easily, especially by my phone/laptop. Number 3 is retaining content. I feel overwhelmed because I haven't finished covering all the syllabuses at school, so I'm trying to balance past topics and new lessons. Number 4, exam technique. I don't always apply concepts well in exam and I need to improve my problem solving approach. Number 5 is pressure and motivation. I've set high expectations for myself and failing to meet them makes me feel stuck. I know I need to push harder, but sometimes it feels like too much. I'd really appreciate any advice on how to effectively study, stay consistent and improve my grades, especially in maths and physics. Thanks in advance for taking the time to read this. Best, and I blurred out their name. So after this, I did send them a follow-up email, so I'm just going to read that quickly. Thanks for your email. I read through all of it and I'm sure that I can help you out. I'll record a video based on your email in a couple of days and have it uploaded but before the end of this week. If you don't mind, I do have some follow-up questions for you. The first question is not relevant, so I didn't bother including it. What topics are you struggling with the most, if there are any in particular? And second, what techniques have you tried so far and have they helped you? This will help me understand your situation better. Regards, me. She did get back to me and we're going to read that now. Hi Ayan. Thanks for getting back to me. I really appreciate your help. To answer your questions, the first one is irrelevant. My biggest struggles are with maths, both pure and statistics, and physics, especially applying concepts to questions. I tend to understand the concepts in class, but struggle with answering tricky problems, especially under time pressure, which I will come to later. So far, I have been reading through material, doing practice questions, and writing summary notes for physics and biology. I am also starting to use flashcards to help me recall. I try to study step by step, but I get overwhelmed because I haven't covered all the syllabuses yet, which I will get back to later. I've also been working on exam techniques and daily practice, which is helping, but I still need to improve my problem solving skills, especially in maths. I've also started doing past papers, but because it's hard for me to apply concepts, I do not finish them, which is a big problem, and I do talk about this later in the video. Let me know if you need any more details. Looking forward to your video. Best, the name. So now that we've read the email and understand her scenario, let's get back to the video and let me help whoever's watching this video and her out. Funny story, the scenario you're currently in was kind of me as well, because I hadn't completed the syllabus, but I also did not want to forget old stuff, so I was just scrambling between them. And I took maths, physics, chemistry, and I was really struggling in physics and chemistry specifically. So I didn't know how to manage it, and I was just in a mess at that time. So I can speak from like a mistake point of view where I made a mistake and I learned from it. So I really do think that you're going to find this video helpful. Now, your issue with maths and physics is that you understand the concept, but you struggle to apply it. And that is a fairly common issue. So how do you exactly fix that? Well, firstly, if you try to solve past papers and you end up getting discouraged, I would not advise you to do them by yourself first. The way I would go about this is that I would watch other people solve the paper first. So for example, if you're doing maths, Mr. Hassan's maths channel is probably the best resource out there that you can watch, because he explains the concept so in depth that you're bound to understand it. He is quite literally the reason that I have an A in AS level math. So I wouldn't recommend that you do them yourself first. Here's how I would go about them. Let's say that you have 15 papers to do until your exams come around. This is just an example, by the way. The way I would do these 15 papers is that the first 3 or 4 I would watch someone else do it, i.e. Mr. Hassan's math channel. I would watch him, I would have my paper and I would have him solving the paper on the screen, and I would be following his steps and trying to understand how he's coming to the answer. And I would do this for 3 to 4 papers. Don't worry about the time, just focus on understand how he's solving the question and the concept behind it. So now that you've done 3 to 4 papers, the next 4 to 5 papers that you have in your 15 paper batch, I would do them myself. So I would go question by question wise, while having the marking scheme near me and the paper. So for example, Mr. Hassan's channel open nearby. I would do the question myself and I would look at the marking scheme if I got it correct. If I got it correct, I would move on. However, if I got it wrong, I would read the marking scheme first. If I still cannot understand the marking scheme, I would go and I would watch Mr. Hassan trying to solve it. If I still don't understand it, I would get to the bottom of it. No matter what I do, ask a friend, ask a teacher, go watch another video, go watch as many videos as you want, but do not move on from that question until you understand it. So the way you're going to do it, you're going to do these 4 to 5 papers is that question by question. If you understand it and if you get the correct answer, move on. If you don't, do not leave that question until you understand it. Now that you've done approximately 7 to 9 papers, what I would do is that the last, let's say 6 papers, I would do them all by myself, no external help at all. I would sit down, I would put a time limit, and I would try to complete the paper under normal exam circumstances. And once I've done that paper, I would go look at the marking scheme. I would thoroughly analyze it, see where I went wrong, why I went wrong, how can I not get this wrong next time. And I would just, I would also go to Mr. Hassan's math channel and see how he's doing it. Is there an alternative way to do it? I would do a whole research on that paper, seeing what could I've done better, what did I do wrong, how can I do it better next time, how all of that stuff. So if you follow this pattern of doing papers, I'm pretty sure that it will really help with your problem solving skills as well, because you're going to be looking at another point of view of how another person does it. So that's how I'd personally do my papers and how I did them back in year 12 as well. So yeah, that's how I'd go about it. Now your next problem was time management. You need to follow a strict schedule, which allows you to balance your life and your school alongside with it. So let me help you with that as well. The first step to creating a perfect schedule is by blocking time out on your calendar. For example, you go to school from 8 to 4:20. Block out that time on your calendar. You go for football practice, block that out as well. Every time frame where you know that you're going to be busy and there's you cannot study or you cannot do anything else, block that out for the week. The next step is to create a to-do list for every day the night before. So let's say that you know that tomorrow I need to be doing chemistry, doing a school assignment, and going for a run. Write these things in your to-do list alongside the blocked activities such as football or school, whatever. You have to make a calendar based on these to-do lists. Now once you've made your to-do list, the next thing you want to do is schedule all the tasks on your calendar, allocating as much time as you want for each activity. On your screen you can see an example calendar that I made for you. Also, you did mention that you try to study till 11 p.m, which I would definitely try to cut down to at least 9 p.m, because personally for me, I do not study after 8 p.m because genuinely I do not see the point. I come back from school, I do my work, and by that time I'm just so tired that whatever I try to learn, I just cannot get it to retain in my brain. So I would never study after 8 p.m. You'll find it very hard to retain information if you study past, let's say, 9 p.m. So that's one thing that you're struggling with as well. So I would definitely tell you to cut down on the time you study. You have to understand that studying more can actually mean studying less, because it is very inefficient. So genuinely stop trying to study so late, 11 to 12. Try to cut down to at least 9 so that you can go to bed at 10, get 8 hours of sleep, and wake up the next morning and study then, because you're going to see a massive improvement from when you try to study at 11 p.m to when you try to study at 5 a.m, because studying early in the morning is much better. Now your third problem was retaining content. In your situation, since we only have a few months left, I would recommend that you try to finish the syllabus as soon as possible. Of course, past topics do matter a lot, but since you're looking at it from a mocks point of view, I would say that it's better to risk it and complete the syllabus first rather than focusing on past topics. And either ways, I'm going to assume that you've been doing past paper questions on the previous topics as well, so that that even if you do leave them for like say 1 or 2 weeks, you're not going to forget that much information because you've already done a lot of questions on them. So I'd say risk it and try to complete the syllabus as fast as you can. The stress of multitasking can take a really big toll on you. So what I would do, I would try to tackle each challenge one by one. So first I would try to complete the syllabus, then I would do past papers, and then maybe even recall past topics. I would not try to do all three of them at once. Your fourth problem was your exam technique. You struggle to apply your concepts in mid-exam, and that is not something that I can magically help you with, but I can give you some tips that will allow you to understand the question much better. Honestly, the only way that you can actually improve your problem solving approach is by doing as many past papers as you can, because trust me when I say this, past papers are the only way that you're going to actually truly learn a topic. When we're doing past papers, we tend to give up after we're stuck on the same question for 10 minutes. Like, we tell ourselves that we're not going to be getting it anytime soon, so might as well look at the marking scheme or go watch a video on it. And that is not how you should be going about it. Try to solve the exact same question, doesn't matter how long it takes, until you get the answer. Because the next time you attempt a similar question or a question that is structured similarly, you're not going to forget how to answer that, because you took so much time to just try to understand that one question that it is going to save you so much time for the next one. Especially for maths, where they ask different type of questions, but the way they ask it is the same, so the method you apply is the same. So if you're stuck on one question, do your best to try to understand it, because the next time you do a past paper, there's a likelihood that the same question will come up and you're easily going to be able to answer it. Also, just a few random tips is that if you use social media a lot, please try to cut down on that, because it messes with your dopamine levels, which reduces your motivation to study. The second one is that please read the question before you answer it, because I cannot tell you how many times stuff has happened where I rush to answer the question, I do not understand it, I waste 5 minutes, I go and look back at the question, and voila, there's literally a hint in the question itself. So please reread the question for like 2 or 3 times, because sometimes there are just hints hiding within the question. And lastly, this is a tip that I use for maths, is that I try to finish the first few questions as soon as I can, and then do the ones at the end, because the ones at the end, so like let's say there are 10 questions in a maths paper, I'm talking from an edexo point of view, right? The first 3 to 4 questions are going to be the easiest questions, and the last like 3 or 4 questions are going to be very hard. So, and you have 1 hour 30 minutes to juggle all of them. So what I try to do is that whenever I'm practicing past papers, is that I try to finish the first 3 to 4 questions as soon as I can. So out of that 1 hour 30 minutes, I will complete these in like 10 to 15 minutes maximum, and I would leave as much time possible for the harder questions towards the end. So you should structure yours similarly too. Now, your last struggle was pressure and motivation. The reason you feel upset when you cannot get the grades that you want is because you're setting too much of a high expectation for yourself. Now, sometimes that may work for other people, but for you it clearly doesn't. Every time you get a question right, be happy, enjoy that moment. That there's been so many moments, especially in maths, where like I'm dealing with a 6-7 mark question, and then I'm like, oh, I'm not going to get it right. And then when I do get it right, I just get so happy, because there's a dopamine rush saying that, you worked for this. So do something similar with yourself. Tell yourself that you're not going to get it right. Even if you do get it wrong, you're not that disappointed. But if you do get it right, you're very happy. So try to look at it from that perspective as well. Do not set the expectations so high that you're never going to come close to meeting them. Just try to progress one by one. Take baby steps. You need to be consistent, and the only way that you're going to be able to stay consistent is that if you lock in. Remove all social media. Stop scrolling. Stop your scrolling addiction, and just tell yourself that this is my future. I should be getting good marks for this. You need to make yourself disciplined and do your due diligence, and just try to study, work hard, and be consistent, and eventually you will see the results. I can see from your email that you're already working hard. You want those grades. You have the determination as well. Just you do get distracted easily, so I would recommend that you check out this video, which basically tells you some apps that help me stay productive. Some extensions that help me stay productive. And I would just say, you are on a good path to get good grades, but you need to be, a bit more consistent with it, and you need to get out of the mindset that, I'm struggling a lot, I cannot understand, I don't have that problem solving approach, because you do, but it's just hidden within you, and you need to find that. So follow all of the tips that I told you, and you should be doing better by the end of your mocks. So yeah, that's all for today's video. If you have any further questions, you can leave them in the comments below, or you can email me with a similar email format, and I will do my best to make a video on that. Thank you for watching. I'll see you very, very soon. Thank you, and goodbye.